Here we go. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner here of Ruby Rock, we have the South Korean Zerg player. We have the blue Zerg representing Team Falcons. It is Solar. And spawning in the top left hand corner, we have the Polish Protoss player, the red Protoss representing Offside Esports. It is Krystianer. Here we go, and in my mind, this should be a bit of a closer matchup and a closer series. Again, we have seen Krystianer bring Solar down before. That has happened in recent times. We'll see if he can do it again. Krystianer he's had a really interesting kind of approach to ZvP as of late. I know that he has been grinding quite a bit. He has been practicing quite a bit as well. And in this matchup, he's been very, very fond of Archon-based openers, of Archon drops. Going into Archon drops and going into a very heavy charged Archon Immortal-based composition. That has been the case for quite some time. We'll see if that trend continues. I will say that that's one of the criticisms that I have of Krystianer, is that he doesn't necessarily have a lot of breadth. Once he finds a style that he enjoys, he commits, right? He commits to the style and he just doubles down on it, and he does it well. He does it quite well, but it also means that he doesn't have as much kind of up his sleeve to mix into a series. But we'll see if that changes here. We'll see if that changes. We'll see how he does open up. So again, we should be seeing that Stargate opener into faster Twilight Council and Robo. Island gets thrown down in position for a Stargate, and welcome to Ruby Rock. Ruby Rock is one of the smaller maps in the map pool. Aggression is going to be favored. Speaking of aggression, Solar is very fond of all-ins in this matchup. In ZvP, we've seen many a 3-base all-in out of Solar, cutting workers and going for early Hydras. We actually spoke about that last night, if you recall, when we were casting Shin, about how there's a 3-base all-in where you join up to 66, you don't get Neva Chamber, and you go for a Hydra all-in, and Shin was going for that multiple times. Was very Solar-esque in his play. It's also in last night's ZvPs, so as we saw Shin against Creator and Shin against Classic. We'll keep an eye on Roach Horn timings. Keep an eye on Solar. But now, Stargate. Stargate open out of Krystianer. Solar expanding towards the Protoss. Expand forward. First blood. True. God, I completely forgot that was a thing. That was I guess that gives you a reason to be hyper fixated on the early game. For those that I remember, Base Trade TV, they used to, yeah, that was very iconic for them. That was very iconic. They'd have the first blood animation for the first unit that goes down. That's you unlocked a core memory pack. As there it is, we do have our third base, so it's going to be Stargate into the Robo. We did mention this at the beginning of this series, how Krystianer is very fond of this kind of follow-up Archon-based play. In my mind, we should be seeing a Robo into, well, actually, it would have been a Twilight Council into Robo. So, Krystianer, you have my attention. The reason why you'd often see an earlier Twilight Council, and there it is for the Temple Archives. So, Twilight Council into Temple Archives into High Templar into an Archon drop. Is what we're expecting out of Krystianer. A Solar, he does go for the early Roach Horn. Solar, he saw the timing of the Robo. Yeah, he knows. Yeah, he saw the Robo timing. So he's going into Roach play. Solar's playing safe. Did I say playing safe? Solar, he's actually moving out. Very early Roach production here. He's going for the all-in. We did mention that Solar's very fond of all-ins in ZvP, and that's what we're seeing here. So he's rallying Lings across the map, he's rallying Roaches across the map. The goal is to just end the game. Here comes the War Prism. Remember, the Twilight Council is done. Oof. There's the Temple Archives. And Krystianer, who was telegraphing from the beginning that he was going for an Archon drop, but he's still a ways away. It's a ways away, Pappy. And the all-in is coming. Roaches are whirling across the map. The War Prism does now confirm, and we could have seen Immortal production if Krystianer was aware, but he didn't scout, right? Krystianer, he failed to scout. The Oracle was being defensive. Roaches push in. The Immortal production only just now began, and the army floods in. Yeah, we flood into the natural. The pylon is exposed. Yeah, Tosis pylon, it's gonna go down. Depowers everything at the natural. The Immortal is not gonna pump, and there's just nothing at him. There's nothing here. We have 2 Archons morphing in, and they can definitely help out. One of the Archons is gonna be targeted. Oof. There's 1 Archon left. And with that, Krystianer pulls the boys, getting desperate here. But Lings, they just go to town. Every worker's gonna fall. Every worker falls. GG gets called, and Solar, he takes game number 1. Whew. GG. GG, well played. I had assumed that Solo going for the Roaches was a reaction to scouting the Robo, but that was not the case. I believe he was going for Roaches to begin with, even before he had scouted. So Solo, he was just going for the Ling Roach all in. I didn't mention at the beginning of this series how Krystianer, unfortunately, is a little bit predictable. When it comes to his style, like once he finds a way that he likes to play, he commits. That's why we're speaking about the Archon drop opener before the series even began, and we went for it here. But as you saw, like, there is a bit of a weakness to this build, just because you're going to be lacking, because you're so tech heavy. You're getting a Robo, a Twilight Council, and a Templar Archives, and a War Prism as well. Like, this is all investments into tech, into setup that won't really help you early on against an all-in, just because you're delaying your Immortal production, just because you're not getting Blink, for example, you're not getting extra gateways, you're delaying your warp ins, and the pants were down. The pants were down. It was also unfortunate that Krystianer, he didn't scout the all-in. If he was a little bit more active with the Oracles, he could have seen the lack of saturation and could have seen the move out a little bit earlier as well. But GG. GG, well played. With that, Solo takes lead, and now we're going to be loading into game 2, going to be loading into the Old Republic. This time a much larger map, so these all-ins are going to be weaker on this map. We should be able to get into the mid-game a little bit easier. This should be a much more comfortable map for the Protoss, but we'll get there. As spawning in the right-hand corner of the Old Republic, we have the South Korean Zerg player, we have the Blue Zerg, representing Team Falcons, it is Solar. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent, we have the red Protoss player. The red Protoss representing outside Esports, it is Krystianer. Here we go. And welcome to the Old Republic. Again, this is a much larger map. The map pool, it is easier to expand and to defend on 3 bases. What is the big difference here on this map? Well, as opposed to the previous map, we do have a narrow ramp coming into the natural. We have a ramp coming into the 3rd base. This is a little more defendable. Your army is going to be in position. On the previous map on Ruby Rock, you're a little bit more spread out, and there are more openings and there are more exposed locations. Here, less so, at least on 3 bases. The 4th base is a different issue. In my mind, I would expect to see Solo do one of 2 things. Go for an economic opener into a 3-base all-in instead, or even potentially muta play. But I'm leaning more towards 3-base play. Remember, last game, Sola, he cut workers at 2-base saturation, even under 2 bases, to be honest. Like, Sola, he cut workers very, very early on. Here, we should be seeing Sola drone up a little bit harder. We should be seeing Krystianer actually get into his build, but can he survive the 3-base play? Solar is very fun. We said this before, but he's very fond of all-ins in this matchup, and there are different variations of all-in. We saw hyper, like insanely fast 2-base play last game. This time, we could be seeing it off of 3 bases instead. But we'll see. We'll see. There are other options on the table. Muta play can be risky against an Archon drop opener. Archons can keep up with mutas, but it's not as effective as Blink Stalkers when it comes to keeping up with the speed of muta play and the mobility as well. So that is an option, but you do leave yourself vulnerable. We'll see. We shall see. As we should be seeing that Stargate opener once again out of Krystianer. Now, I'm just making the assumption that he's going to go for the Archon drop again, but, you know, could mix it up. Could mix it up here. As the Stargate is on the way. If this is the same build, that we should be seeing a Robo momentarily as well. As he takes his 3rd. I do know that sometimes Krystianer gets it after the 3rd base, sometimes he gets it before. Referring to the Robo. Krystianer does poke out. Does poke out, just keeping eyes on the saturation, trying to keep eyes on the tech. After what happened last game, I'm sure Krystianer's going to be a little more vigilant as to what Solar is up to. He's going to be paying attention. Oh, and we do mix it up. Okay, so that is not a Robo. That is going to be 3 extra gateways. Jesus, 3 extra gateways and a Twilight Council before expanding. In my mind, this should be Glaive Adepts. Should be Glaives, but as you can see, Krystianer is staying in gas. Typically with Glaive Adepts, you pull out of gas. You pull, I should say, 1 worker out of each gas geyser because you don't need that much gas. If we're staying 3 and 3, 6 in total, then we could afford even more gateways, getting up to 6 gateways instead of 4, or we could even go for a Dark Shrine alongside this as well. Eyes are on Krystianer. Yep, Glaives are on the way. Again, we'll see if he throws in extra gateways. We'll see if he throws in a Dark Shrine. Now, Krystianer still does expand. And we do see that Soul's playing it safe. Getting his Roach Horn. He's getting his Roach Horn. Roach Horns are often skipped in this matchup, unless you feel the need to do otherwise. Against Krystianer, Solo just wants to play it safe, calm down. Has access to Roaches. Krystianer is soon moving out. 3 Adepts, this isn't enough of a tell, not yet. Solar, he does try to come in from behind. And I believe just now he's going to see all the Adepts. Just barely not. The Go Roach production has begun. He's getting to his Roaches. Mass Adepts are revealed. Solo's keeping up. He's got 8 more Roaches on the way. Now, if this fails to get damaged, then Krystianer's going to fall behind, so the pressure is on. He needs to get more done here. As you can see, Krystianer, he has gas banked up. I mentioned earlier that typically if you see Adepts, you actually pull out of gas, so... yeah, a bit of an awkward setup here, but he's trying to switch into Blink Stalkers. Oh, actually going double Robo, okay. Double Robo, double Immortal production. We'll see if he can get there. See if he can get there, as Krystianer, he fails to get damage done. He doesn't really get much done in the natural or at the 3rd base. The drones, the mineral lines are left untouched. Oh, and there it is. Spire. Okay, we're going into meters. We're ahead of the meters. We did mention earlier that this was going to be an option for Solar. I still wasn't convinced that he was going to go for it, but but okay, sure. It's going into meters. Now, what's kind of scary about this position is that Krystianer is going to be hyper-fixated on dealing with the Roach counterattack. That's why he's going double Robo. He's making as many models as he can to make sure he survives against a Roach all-in. But we can see there is no Roach all-in. There are Roaches, yes, there's Roach speed, true, but we have melee on the way, not range, because we're going into Mutas, not Roaches. And Krystianer doesn't know. Krystianer, he does not know. Oh! Adepts, they do shade in, and they do not get behind the mineral line. Fails to scout, just barely. Doesn't see what's going on. Now, Blink will help. Ooh, Zorko gets sniped. Blink is going to help at least, but how many Stalkers are we going to warp in? And on top of that, there's no Phoenixes. If he had scouted, there could be a Phoenix on the way. But again, for now, hyper-fixated on those Immortals. He's got 2, soon to be 4. We have 12 meters on the way. Oh, he gets scouted. Okay, Krystianer, big moment. He does scout. Immediately, Phoenixes on the way. Getting Phoenixes, throwing down shield batteries. Going to be getting ready back at home. At least he has some seconds to prepare. Some seconds to react. Arcodes are being morphed in. Getting in position in the mineral lines. Mutas, they do hit the third. Contamination here on the Robo. Ay, ay, ay. Does contaminate where the Archons will defend. And we'll send this back. Meanwhile, Solar's doubling down. Solar, he's doubling down. We have more Mutas in production. We have +1 air attack. +1 fire attack. Solar, he's not stopping. He wants that Archon. No shield battery. Yeah, there's no battery in position. He gets one of the Archons. Archon goes down. More Lings are amassing. Oof, as soon as they get into the middle line. As they get in, getting 7, 8, 9 pro kills. The Prism goes down. Rotates over towards the third base. Where's the anti-air? And there's barely any. There's barely any here. There's what, 4 Stalkers and the Archon. That is barely going to be enough to zone this back. Still 14 probe kills. And Krystianer is stuck at home. Stuck at home. Just once again poking in. Diving on the Immortals. Catching at the Phoenixes. Phoenix is going down. Immortals are left exposed. Oh, jeez. The Mutas, they do take a massive Archon shot to the face. Yeah, the Mutas have to be so careful here. So heading to the main. Catching another Phoenix. Oof. Going for the mineral line and getting almost every single probe here. 33 probes go down and more Phoenixes. Yeah, more Phoenixes getting called out. War Prism as well. 1 Phoenix left. 0. Yeah, 0 Phoenixes remaining. Takes down every Phoenix. 3 damage on the Immortals. We mentioned before that Archons are not very mobile. And Mutas can just run circles around them. And Solar, this one has done it. Solar, he has just crippled Krystianer. Solar, he's maxed out on Lings, Roaches, and on Mutas. As Mutas, they keep engaging it. Once again, they take a massive Archon shot to the face. You can see how softened up the Mutas are. They're getting very low. You gotta respect the Archons. But Krystianer is down to 36 probes. 37. Again, a very low probe count. Down to less than the 2 base economy. As more Phoenixes get caught. So GG gets caught. It gets out of hand. And Solar, he's going to take the series 2-0. Advancing on to the winners match. GG. GG, well played. I do appreciate that Krystianer did mix up his builds, and here in game 2 did decide to commit into 4 Gate Glaive Adepts. Unfortunately, he was so close. He was so close to scouting what was going on, but he did miss the Spire ahead of time. Did also fail to get damage done with the Adepts. True, like that was also really unfortunate. Solar, he was blindly going into Roaches himself just because it is Krystianer. So Solar, he felt the need to play safe, and it did pay off. The Adepts did not get any damage done, but more importantly, the Adepts didn't scout. They failed. They barely failed to scout the Spire. If it was seen earlier, we would have seen faster Phoenix production, faster site defense in the mineral lines, and a cleaner defense to stabilize on 4 bases and to build up into the mid game. But you saw that even though it got scouted, it was only a couple of seconds of preparation before the Mutas got across the map and still just tore Krystianer apart. GG. GG, well played. With that, congratulations, Solar, he does claim the series, and Solar, he does advance on. Meanwhile, we're getting ready for our next matchup. Up next is going to be the elimination match. Un momento.